I like to meet people. I like to have happy conversations and strive for happiness. Who am I? I am the Squeegee Man. Yeah. This is a squeegee. You can find one at a gas station, service station. Underneath it and written down here, you'll find the name Mallory written on the underside of these wooden sticks with the sponge and the squeegee. And that's a long story. Long story short is, if I did not find this in 1995 as a ways and means to get money, then I'd be dead today. I was using a lot of drugs. I would be more specific, actually, and say I was using crack cocaine, which means that you need it more frequently. When we feel uncomfortable, which is about 5 minutes later, we need another one. With that being said, I smoked crack from when I was 14 years old until I was 31. And for the latter 8 years of my usage, I found this. I never stopped squeegeeing. I've literally stayed awake 21 days, pretty much straight, round the clock, moving, washing car windows, avoiding police, being beaten up by crack dealers and other drug addicts and stuff like that, who I call my friends today. I'm navigating through all that stuff just so that I can get a piece of dope every 15 to 20 minutes and die. That's me there, wearing blue. I grew up at Jane and Trethewey. Was born at Mount Sinai Hospital, done Brock Street for a while, my mom says. My mother had me when she was 17. My father was about 21. My father was just like running around, being a really bad ladies' man. And my mom, as a young mom, was raising me with undeveloped faculties at that time. I mean, she just was too young to be raising a kid, but she did. And what happened was Mr. Tuck, that's this guy's name, this guy here, he made me sit next to him, which was all right, you know. He just wanted to make sure I wasn't doodling anymore because I wasn't listening to him, and I found it really easier to focus and pay attention when I was doodling, like drawing a little picture or something while I listened. I'm sure some people could identify today, right? But then this teacher didn't really tolerate that. So because he had me sitting next to him and I didn't understand him and why he was the way he was towards me, I was also a little defiant and started to doodle again, even though I was sitting next to him. And he never warmed up to me at all. If anything, he started to berate me and make me feel really uncomfortable, to the point that I never went to class in grade 5, and I started to wander around the school hallways. I was then put in special ed, and I then the next year would end up in the Clark Institute of Psychiatry's 3rd floor school with 4 kids in a class. It appears Anthony has difficulty accepting ultimate responsibility for his actions and prefers to project his blame onto the school system. Nothing has changed. Awareness and ability to articulate thoughts and feelings are strong and evident. That's what a shrink's writing about me. Negative self-image and underlying anger. They said I had a streetwise manner of speech and that I displayed to assessors. The comparisons and analogies to defend questionable remarks were made. That I said risking and realizing need not end in failure. A fucking 8-year-old says that. Anyways, intellectual and manipulative abilities noted. Furthermore, I would be institutionalized, and just a couple years later, I would be smoking crack cocaine. So a brand new drug was introduced to drug culture in my building where I grew up in, 710 Trethewey and 720. Much like the other ones, projects in my on the Jane Strip, became infected with this drug as a ways and means to get some people out of the financial, social, economic fucking shit that those types of environments really impose on people, right? To settle for, you know what I mean? Your welfare checks, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're listening to your mom complaining. I'm sure all these kids were listening to the same thing I was listening to in some way, shape, or form of what the fuck is this for? When I'm praying or when I'm in a meditative state, the best meditative state is actually when I'm able to move and move. You know what I mean? At this point in my life, I mean, if I had to be patient and sit down and, you know, meditate in that way, you know what I mean? No moving or whatnot.
what I'm trying to say is that I think that a lot of these fucking religious, esoteric fucking people, they're not proactive. They're not allowed to be proactive. They're not allowed to be activists, and if they are, they're terrorists. Look at Islam, say, for an example, and then people like forgetting about the Crusades, which is actually in recorded history of like ethnically cleansing for Christ, you know? There's, you know, no difference in that, in the dispute and the reaction and the response from people. And then for the other ones over here in the Western culture to sort of like, you know what I mean, and then turn their cheeks to it and not really want to address it because, well, really they're too busy fucking working or hoarding or securing what they've worked for and wanting to keep. I think they're just too preoccupied and busy with something that I can't understand is a distraction. I can't understand why people don't realize that this whole globe and organism that we share is ours as a collective, and that we've separated ourselves from each other through like our lack of purpose and our fear. And you'd figure people would like figure it out, like this is such bullshit, and totally won't look at each other on a fucking crowded bus and are afraid of each other. And I don't think that's a constant at all times. Again, we met at a comedy club, right? And well, people go there to laugh. But I mean, were they laughing before they got there? I mean, of course, right? I mean, but that's the time and place for that. They're on their way to that because they need that. And it's just not enough of it, I guess, in their car and their lives that they need that. Just like people would need drugs, right? Just like people would need God. So I can't define God. And whenever I get into the definition of God stuff with Buddha, Christianity, Islam, any of that, it doesn't agree with itself. And if it did, it's like, well, then it would be less harder on people that are like the followers of this stuff that need a schizotypal relationship with self. Fear, exaggerated, perhaps? I don't know.
Drones. You're all fucking drones. You don't have much of a choice. You do what you're told. You're afraid. Your culture is fear-driven. Privilege is, I think, just your social security and your security, your financial security. I think this is monetary enslavement. I don't think it is. I watch it. I see cab drivers that drive 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, and only see their kids maybe an hour a day, and are forced to do that from other parts of the world, wherever they're from. So it's no need to stereotype where people are from, just that there are a lot of hardworking people that don't have a fucking choice but to do what they gotta do, or else, I don't know, they can't wear a Canada Goose jacket these days, or they don't eat, or they don't equate to like the status quo of people that are just wandering around. And when you don't dress or behave or go to places with people and have that sort of function, then you're excluded. And I think there's a lot of like exclusion that is unrecognized in the communities that I see in my surroundings, in our world. But yeah, I hate the word but.